For the first segment of the day, we're going to be talking about Emmanuel Sanders to the New Orleans Saints. This is a free agency signing that went under the radar, but is probably one of the biggest ones that nobody's talking about. See, it is such an underrated signing. I mean, the New Orleans Saints needed Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is a veteran wide receiver who has now played in 3 Super Bowls with the 49ers, Steelers, and Broncos. And the Saints were able to bring him in because the Saints have drafted so well, and a lot of their starters are still on their rookie contracts, so they were able to bring in Emmanuel Sanders, and this was very needed. I mean, the Saints are ready to win now. They've been ready to win these last few seasons. Every season, the past 2 seasons, I've had the Saints go into the Super Bowl, and both have not ended very well, with this last one losing to my Minnesota Vikings in overtime. Year before that, losing to the Rams in overtime, which they shouldn't have gone into overtime, but we're not going to get into that. So the Saints need Emmanuel Sanders. He's a veteran. He knows how to play. And then Drew Brees now has someone else to throw to other than Michael Thomas. He's thrown to that Taysom Hill. He's thrown to obviously Michael Thomas. And then Jared Cook. Jared Cook he's getting old. They need a new blocking tight end. Like, he can make a catch. He can make some plays on, like, every game. He might have, like, 2 good plays, maybe even only 1 good play. But Jared Cook's getting old, and they need to get a new tight end. And the Saints only have 5 picks in next year's draft. This year's draft, this 2020 draft. And they pick in the first round, like, late first round, I think, like, 23rd or something like that. That's a great spot to grab a wide receiver. I mean, they can get Justin Jefferson, hometown guy, played in LSU, was one of the best wide receivers ever in LSU, and he went to a school where Odell and Jarvis Landry went to as well. So he has a big chance in the NFL. They can get T. Higgins there. They can get Laviska Shenault. But why? They have 5 picks. They don't have a pick in the second round. They have 5 picks in next year's draft. They do not want to grab a wide receiver round 1, especially with the depth in the class. They can get a wide receiver like 5th and 6th round, maybe as their third or 4th string receiver. But they needed Emmanuel Sanders because now they can either trade out of the first round or stay at their first round pick and maybe get like Kenneth Murray, their inside linebacker, because that inside part of the field was attacked way too much against the Saints defense, and that's where they really need help. And I think Kenneth Murray fits well with this team, and that's a great spot to take him. Now, it may be a little bit of an overdraft, though, because Kenneth Murray probably won't go till second round if they don't take him, or maybe to the Packers, but who knows? So Saints it would be smart for them to trade out. They don't have a pick in the second round, and they need those like depth pieces that you can get in the second round, and it would be smart. Now, this was a great move, and no one's talking about it, too. It's like Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, maybe make a couple plays. I mean, now he might look better because he's not going to be very much of a target. I don't think many plays are going to be designed for him. So their offense is looking really good, and their offensive line is still amazing. So this may be, like, in my opinion, probably one of the top, like, 3 biggest moves, but nobody's talking about it. Okay, maybe not top 3. That's kind of pushing it. Top 5 biggest moves is free agency, and nobody wants to talk about it. And it doesn't make sense to me because this is huge for them. I mean, they were throwing to Michael Thomas all the time. Like, all the plays were designed for Michael Thomas. And then we saw in the Vikings game, which ended their season, just double team Michael Thomas. When you play a team like the Vikings, who have a good enough secondary to double team Thomas and then also put like man coverage on some other players, or zone coverage, whatever, it just looks better. I mean, Taysom Hill was the X factor in that game. He's going to be the X factor this next season. I forgot to mention him. So Taysom Hill is still going to be their X factor in the 2020 season. He was his X factor against the Vikings and made big plays against the Vikings because they were all their defensive plays were basically designed to guard Michael Thomas, because that was like who they knew that the ball was going to go to a lot of the time. So like they threw a Harrison Smith on him, and even just Xavier Rhodes or some corner, and then you can throw like they threw like what's his name, Eric Kendricks on Jared Cook and on Taysom Hill, and it's just like then what does Drew Brees have to do? I mean, he throws the ball away. He can't run with the ball. I mean, this dude is 41, 42, however old he is. You don't want him to be running with the ball like that. And now with Emmanuel Sanders there, how can you beat this team? I mean, I say that almost every year for the Saints team at the last like 3 years. How do you stop them? And then something bad goes their way, and a coin flip, I don't know what it is, something bad goes his way in free agency, postseason, and that's how their season ends. So yeah, now that they pick if they trade out of the first round, they could pick second round, or they can grab one third round. They need a blocking tight end that they can also throw to the ball to. Oh yeah, they have Traquan Smith too. That's such a good slot receiver. And how if you get a blocking tight end, what do you do against this team? I mean, Latavius Murray is one of the most underrated running backs in the whole league, by the way. That dude is insane and pairs so well with this team. I mean, they're able to grab these like older players that have played a long time that are kind of no one else is looking at because it's kind of overpaid contracts when they're getting older, more injury prone and like that. But it's because they've drafted so well. Like Sean Payton and this team has that 2017 draft, they drafted so well. They're still all on the rookie contracts. I don't know what's going to happen when they have to pay all those people because that's going to be kind of hard. I feel like Emmanuel Sanders will only be there 1 year. Is it a 1 or a 2 year deal? I think it's a 1 year deal if I'm right. He'll probably only be there 1 year and then go to another team. I mean, that's what Emmanuel Sanders has done this last, like, however long. So yeah, with Emmanuel Sanders joining this team, they are a unstoppable force. I mean, what I'm making sure I don't miss anyone. So yeah, I talked about the receiving core. Receiving core is great. It's back. Running back group, really good running back group with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. And then you have Drew Brees under center. Obviously, that offense is really good like that, especially with that protection that Drew Brees is given. So, and then their ability to get to the quarterback is really good, one of the best. And then they have a pretty good secondary. I mean, their secondary has pieces on it that are really good, but they can get more players on there. I don't know if they're going to add any corners, at least not first or second round, because of the corners that they paid in free agency or traded for already. I feel like they're not going to grab any more corners, even though it's kind of needed. Safeties, maybe they could take a safety, but I think inside linebacker really is needed for this New Orleans Saints team. So yeah, if they take a blocking tight end, they take an inside linebacker, how are you going to mess with this team? They trade out of the first round, maybe they can use their first round pick on a inside linebacker. And the only thing holding the New Orleans Saints back is what their other teams in their divisions are doing. I mean, the Falcons, their biggest rival, added Todd Gurley to the team. Who knows what Todd Gurley is going to be good at? I mean, if he's going to be good this next season. I mean, he played for the Georgia, so it's kind of his hometown area because now he's with Atlanta. And Todd Gurley still could be great. I mean, he's definitely something you got to look at. And then you look at the Panthers, their other team. Panthers added in Teddy Bridgewater, who played for the New Orleans Saints, so he has inside knowledge with the team and is now their starting quarterback. So I don't really think that it's going to be much of a problem, the Panthers, this next season. I think the Panthers are better off just tanking this next season. Well, it depends on how they draft, too. If they draft really well, they'll be too good of a team to tank because they have high picks in next year's draft. And then the Buccaneers, who added Tom Brady and are probably going to add more pieces. I mean, they're probably going to get a running back too, second round, offensive tackle, first round. It's going to be tough to play the Buccaneers 2 times and still win the division, but that's what's holding the Saints back this year. I mean, even though they added Emmanuel Sanders and they're receiving, and he seems like the piece that they were missing, but no one was really talking about it, it's still going to be tough. It's going to be tough when you're playing the Buccaneers, who just added Tom Brady, who is still great. I don't care what anyone says. Tom Brady is still great, especially with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard. You know, it's going to be tough. But they can still win the division. I mean, they can still win the division. Those 2 games are going to be hard. I mean, they have a really great home field advantage, and they might. Okay, it's too early to say, but if the Super Bowl picks were to happen now, I might put the Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints towards it again, even though I've done it like the last 2 years. I see people making like Super Bowl predictions, and it's only April and stuff like that. Draft hasn't even happened yet. First wave of free agency just finished, and people want to make Super Bowl predictions. It's just so companies can get clicks. I mean, you see CBS Sports doing this all the time, even NBC, Fox, all this. It's way too early, and I think that's really stupid. So, no, I'm not going to make a Super Bowl prediction until right before the season starts, because that's when you can kind of see where teams are at with this season, if they look like they're going to tank or if they look like they're going to try. So that wraps up this first segment of this episode. Let me know what y'all think, if Emmanuel Sanders was the most underrated free agency signing, and what you think the Saints are going to do this next season. And as always, till next time.